What's up? I come up here to record a quick show, get a phone call from my producer, David, and end up on the phone with him for an hour, just going over all the minutia of the project that we're working on. And I got a writing deadline, and I got to grind, and I got probably fly out to New York by the end of January to shoot some footage of something. And anyways, it's I just talked for an hour, so like typically, you know how I go with I can't see my face. This hat, see, I'm up in my office and the lighting is kind of whack. I need to put some lighting so it, like I got some lighting under me. Let's take this freaking hat off. I want to show off the hat. Anyways, by the way, I got some stuff to give away. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this show, if you will. I don't like to call it a show, but I wanted to say this. My last video that I posted, I took down because it was really, I was talking about simps. I'm talking about simps, and simps suck, and people who simp are lame. But I did kind of make myself out to look like a douchebag when I talked about how I cheated on my ex-girlfriend freaking a million times, and I used to mac on chicks and make them pay for everything, and I looked like an asshole. My wife pointed it out. She's like, "You look like a d-bag," and I'm like, "Geez, I do look like a d-bag." So I just deleted it. I don't want that out there. And the people I'm working with have told me, they're like, the only content you should be putting out now is inspirational and positive in nature. That's it. Forget the mafia, because that's not you. You were never in the mafia. You're not a mob guy. And I'm like, exactly. I said I was brushed against it, was involved with some mob guys, my uncles and people that I knew as a kid, but I was never a mob guy, and that's not my legacy. I just happened to write on a couple of great novels about a fictional mafia family, and so I kind of got, pushed into that space, but that's not who I am. It's not what I do. I have a much different story, a much bigger story. My story, which is, guy goes, I grew up in a very bad environment around some bad people. And some of them pulled me into a world that nudged me down a path of dark self-destruction. And then I ended up in prison for 13 years. But I said, you know what? I don't want to go back to that life. So what am I going to do? And I was in a hole for 17 months, staring at the ceiling, and then it hit me. He's like, I started creating these stories in my mind, books. And I said, I can be a writer, and someday I'm going to be a writer. So I started writing in prison. And I said, you know what? I'm going to write these books, and someday it's going to create me a life. And here I am today, 15, 20 years later, and I have a life because of my writing. So here we are. But I wanted to be positive. So I wanted to do a positive show. This lighting's going to drive me nuts. Sorry. So I wanted a positive video about something positive. And right now I took a couple weeks off the radio. Well, they gave us 2 weeks off where my show fell into the lineup, and then I took a week off when I was in LA, so I had like 3 weeks off. So I set aside like all my radio business for 3 weeks, and I went back to it. I had like 150 emails, and I got to get back to all these authors who want to be on the show. And so one of the authors tells me that they wrote a book about bullies. And I thought, that's an interesting topic. And I started thinking about bullies because I have a bit of a history with bullies. I hate bullies. Hate them. And so I'm going to talk about them. I'll tell you how I dealt with bullies. And, I do think bullies have a purpose in this world. But, by the way, if you're from Philadelphia and you buy an Our Thing hat like this, I got 2 for 1 because I made them wrong. This is 2 different kinds of hats. This one's a flat bill Philly, and this one. Anyways, I made this guy the wrong hats, like a dummy. It's supposed to be Pittsburgh, and I end up sending him Philly, giving him Philly. So, anyways, I got 2 Philly hats. So if you're from Philly and you buy one of our hats off the website, boom, I'll give you 2 for 1. It's my gift to you. And also, you guys, I got a ton of books to give away. So when I do a live show on Wednesday with Bill Crooks, I do one live show a week, Wise Guy Wednesday. And anyone who super chats, and I'm not begging for super chats. I don't care about the super chats. I don't do this for money. In fact, the only reason I do Wise Guy Wednesday is just to hang out with Bill, because I like that. It's my boy. And it's fun to just chill with him for an hour or two and just kick it. But I have, dude, if I showed you the shelf of signed books that I have from authors who've been on my show, dude, you just don't get it. I got some of the dopest books. Dope books. I mean, I can go on and on. There's my book. Dude, I'm like, these people, anyone who happens to donate to my channel, I like to reward them with a gift. Now, I'm not like the other freaking I won't even get into the names of the channels, but a lot of the channels, like, they go live every day, and if you don't give them money, then they're just like, oh, I won't go live. I'm too good for you. I shouldn't have to just sit here and ramble about bullshit and drama if you don't pay me for it. And some people do. They're just dorks and need attention. People who are like, if I give him $5, he'll say my name. We'll be friends. Well, that's not me. But if somebody donates $5 or $10, $20 to my channel, if it's, as long as it's not costing me money. So if it's a $10 super chat or more, I'll give you books. I got Gotti's Boys from Anthony DiStefano, a Pulitzer Prize winning author. And it's signed. This is like literally probably worth $75 on eBay. Anthony DiStefano is a Pulitzer winning true crime writer. I think he works for Newsweek. Here's another one of his books, The Deadly Dawn. I'm giving those away. I got this book from Sandra Petty, also a Pulitzer Prize winner. I don't think it's signed, though. No. They sent me some of these. But this is a great book on Sonny Francis. This is the most recent book, Sonny Francis. I interviewed her on my show. She's a friend of mine. She read both my books, To Be a King, Volume 1 and 2, messaged me, and I said, speaking of my books, here's my book. This is literally Volume 1 of 1. This is the very first print of To Be a King, Volume 1. I signed it for myself. It's my first novel print ever. April 15th, 2017. I signed it. Mine. She read these. Sandra Petty read these books and messaged me. She's like, where can I post the reviews? I'm like, go to Amazon. Go like anywhere else. I said, can I quote you for a blurb? And she said, yeah, of course. She loved them. She went off crazy. Like, I knew she was going to love them. I told her she would. And she says, I said, give me a quote. Like, well, she didn't say that. We were talking, and she says, I don't see how they can't make this a movie. That's what she said. I don't see how they can't make this movie. And I said, can I quote you on that? She says, yeah. I said, so then I'm like, if I ever reprint it, I'll put it in the book. Like Sandra Petty, Pulitzer Prize winning author. She works for Newsday, I think. Quote, To Be a King. How can they not make this a movie? So if you haven't read my book, make sure to check it out. And if you haven't checked out Our Thing Apparel, make sure you check it out. Our stuff is dope. It's on the front and back. Pick your city, rep your town, where you're from. And by the way, again, I got all these freaking books. I'm giving them away. Anyone super chats, I'm getting them. I'm just not, I'm not taking money out of my pocket to send them to you. So if you just say, I want it, I'm like, I'm not going to go to the post office and pay $5 to send it to you. Unfortunately, I don't have money like that. And I don't have time. The post office is a 19-mile round trip. I'm not going there to give you your book. But if you super chat me $10 or $20, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Once a week, I'll drive into town and drop them in the mail. And you get freaking badass books, signed books by these authors. I got a shelf full of them, ton of them. So, just for you, if you guys want. So, this worked out. So, I need some protein, Fairlife milk. I wish I could. Everybody knows I got eye trouble. I guess I could put sunglasses on and look like a real douchebag, Freaking, I don't even have a cool pair of sunglasses left. I lost them all. Every single one of them, or broke them. I lost a pair in LA. But, I put these on, but I look like a douchebag. It's night out. So, but I got eye problems, and the lights mess with it. And that's why I usually wear sunglasses for everything. Some people thought it was cool. It was a good look. Some people said you look like a douchebag. I'm like, I probably look like a douchebag. My wife says, don't wear the glasses. You have very expressive eyes. Do I? So, anyways, Bully. So let me take you back. This harkens back to when I'm a kid. Now, I think every kid gets bullied to a degree. And it's normal. It's normal behavior. But I was not normal like everybody else. All right. So I'm going to give you my first real recollection of getting bullied. And I don't think I got bullied a whole ton in life. Like some people really get bullied a lot. But it was enough to make me really hate bullies, to despise bullies. And I react a certain way to them. Now, my parents divorced when I was 5. And I went and moved with my grandparents in Grosse Pointe. My mom, my sister. My uncle Pete lived there too. My uncle Peter Paul Togo. This for the record. Yes, he was a street guy. He was a gangster. He was a wise guy. This guy was the most gangster guy I ever met. He wasn't a made guy. And the reason for that is he didn't want to be made. He's the guy who told me, getting made or going into the mob is for suckers. It's a sucker's move. He literally sat me down, by the way, my Uncle Peter Togo says, because, we talked about it, like, could I be in, could I be full in, and that. And he's like, you don't want to be. He's like, and he literally looks at me, and my Uncle Sal was sitting there too, and he says, dude, you don't get it. The mafia is just a con man game, a suckers play, where old men con young men into thinking it's some super romantic and awesome thing you want to be part of. And they groom them for this over the years and say, the old men say, give me money, do this, do that, jump through the hoop, do that. When I say that, you can do that. It tells all these young guys, and it's our thing. It's a secret romantic organization that nobody else knows about, but everybody knows. And they say, do this, do that, do that. So they groom them for 10 years, telling them to do this, do that, and that. And then they say, and then finally the old man's like, I got this freaking guy who's been driving me crazy. He's been disrespecting me. I warned him about, I want to kill this mother effer, man. He brings the kid in and says, listen, I'm going to bring you all the way into this thing. I've gone to my skipper. I've gone to the boss and said, I want to sponsor you, bring you into this thing, make you a full member of this family. All you got to do is kill this mother effer, and then you're in. And then when you're in, you got to give me, 25% or 20% of your weekly take. Just kick up. That's a tribute. Some of it goes to the boss. And the guy goes, oh, okay, I'm going to be a full mobster, a gangster, okay. And he goes and kills a guy. Now this guy's lording over him. He goes, I know you killed the mother effer for me, so you can't ever freaking tell on me. And then give me your money every week. It was the stupidest thing. My Uncle Pete tells me all this. I was young. I was like 16, 17 years old. He's like, so why would you want that? He said, Alonzo, why would you want that? Why would you ever want that? Why would you want to have to listen to some fat old men tell you what to do and then give them your money for it? You can't do this. You can't do that. You got to do this. You got to do that. And then here's part of my money. The fuck out of here. Uncle Pete said, F you. So he ran around scamming and stealing and hustling and running the streets, but he was like, I'm not going all the way in. I don't want to be in. He told the people around him, no, I'm good. No, thanks. I'm good. I'm just going to be, do what I do. And it served him well because he was never busted in a Fed indictment. He was never under investigation by the feds. He got busted selling coke and probably some other stuff too, but he never was all in, and that served him well. And then all the guys who aren't in, it served them well. So back to me in Bullies. My first day of being Bullies, I just moved to my grandparents' house. And I started, I think it was first grade. I used to say kindergarten, but it might have been like, I think it was halfway through kindergarten. My parents got divorced. So I went from this little school called Avon to this school called Trombley in Grosse Pointe, which is a bunch of freaking rich kids. That's all it is rich people. Everybody in the neighborhood, like a lot richer than where I was from. Anyways, basically there were some very wealthy kids in, families in there, and some very wealthy mafia guys in there in the neighborhood. Our house was not so like glamorous, but it was still big, beautiful house compared to what I was used to. But it was only worth, I think one of the groupie trolls looked it up and said, I think it's worth like $500,000 right now. Which the only reason it's not worth more than that is because Detroit is like 3 blocks away. And that's the reason most of the Italian families left that neighborhood and moved either farther up Grosse Pointe or out in the suburbs, St. Clair Shores, Sterling Heights, where, like Birmingham, things like that, because the ghetto was only 3 blocks away. Even though all these beautiful, nice houses, the ghetto 3 blocks away, and the ghetto people would come in and steal stuff and rob stuff and take stuff. One of them robbed my grandmother. That was kind of the final straw when my grandparents moved. Some dude tried to take he took her money, her purse, but he said, give me that ring. My grandmother had a $20,000 ring. That ring today is probably, I'm not joking, her ring today is probably worth $100,000. It's a huge ring. One of my aunts got it. 5-carat, beautiful diamond. Like, I would have loved to get it and give it to my wife. It would have been amazing. But my evil aunts cut me out of the will, and my sister too, and like basically said, no, we're gonna take everything. And they did. So these scumbags try to grab my grandma, start fighting with her, they punch her in the face. She won't give them the ring though. There's a story in the newspaper about my grandmother who shot some dude in the you can look it up. She shot a guy. I mean, I think it's the same Grace Toko in the Eastern Market. All the timelines line up. My wife was doing genealogy, and my grandmother shot some dude who came in there to rob him. And she didn't pull on a gun. That doesn't surprise me. They always had a gun. There was a gun over the refrigerator in her house, big ass revolver. I took it and played with it and stuff like that. And in fact, if I'm being perfectly honest, I took it. I took it. Eventually, I stole it, and I just took it. And I asked Grandma. I said, Grandma, where'd that pistol go? She's like, I don't know. I think Grandpa sold it. I think my grandpa said, I think we had a yard sale. And my grandpa sold it. That's how gangster and old school they were. The garage sale's big freaking $357 on the gun. What? You want to buy that? $40. Good. Nobody said nothing. I took it and had it for a couple of years and then sold it, dumped it off in the hood. But anyways, so I move in with my grandparents, and I'm there for like 2 or 3 days. Now, I come from a very dysfunctional environment. Just so you know, my father was the drunk alcoholic who would beat my mother, and I'd see it. He wouldn't beat her like with his closed fist and beat her to a pulp. He'd slap her, and he like shove her down. I remember he'd like shove her into the bathroom, and she'd fall backwards in the tub. He'd grab like a mop or a broom and start whacking her with it. And I tried to stop him. 5 freaking years old, going, Daddy, no, don't stop. Me and my sister, he'd show me, look out, wham, bust my mom. We'll just keep cracking her. And, you know, had my mother told my grandparents or my uncles about this, my grandfather, my dad would probably be dead. Be a different story. My dad admits it. I've had this conversation with him. He's had it right in front of my wife and said, yeah, I know, you know, if your uncles or if your mother would have told her brothers that what I was doing, how I was treating her, he's like, I might not be here. And he's like, yeah, this is my father telling you. Now, my father, by the way, had attended Jack Tocco's wedding, and Frank Sinatra sang at it. That's by legend. This is what he said. But my grandpa was like, yeah, it was crazy being there. You know, this is another testament how close the family was. People say, oh, our family had no connection to them. I'm like, really? My mother was at the Jack Tocco's wedding. I mean, I don't know how much closer you can get. It's not like they were close. He liked my mom. He told me. He's like, yeah, I remember she used to babysit for my oldest son, I think, or whatever. But anyway, so I start to school, and I'm coming from this bad environment where I'm, you know, I see my dad beating my mom, and my dad's an alcoholic, but they don't, like, my grandparents don't. I don't know if my mother told them. I don't think my grandmother or my mother never told her parents that my dad was abusing her like that. I think he said it was more mental abuse, and like it wasn't working out or whatever. So she took the kids, me and my sister, and whatever. So now I'm going to the school. I'm in there like 3 days. I'm a skinny little kid, you know. I'm not like a stocky in any way, you know, fast metabolism little kid. So I'm in there, and on the first day of school, right away, I noticed there's this one big kid. And I was told this story before, and I called him Luca Brasi, like a 7-year-old Luca Brasi. This is a big, dumb kid. Like this big kid. Why he was in first grade, or kindergarten. Why he was in kindergarten, I don't know. This kid must have been 7 freaking years old. He was way bigger than all of us. And they had, like, in the corner, during like a recess time, you know, because it was kindergarten, you had all these like wood blocks, and you could build forts with them. You know, almost like 2x4s and 4x4s and 4x6s, and you build fort and you piece them together like Lincoln logs type of things, right? And all of a sudden, this big mother effer, I see him. He's bullying everybody. He's taking their toys. He's taking this. Give me that. He's real dumb. One day, I don't remember if he bullied me, or if I just got tired of watching him bully people. I think it was more like I got tired of him bullying people, bullying the other kids. So I picked up a freaking 2x4, walked over and said, hey, man, wham, just started busting his head in with a 2x4. Keep in mind, I'm 5 freaking years old. This is how my mind works. And then you wonder why I ended up in prison, and I've had all these crazy stories, you know. 5 years old, I'm beating a dude's head in with a 2x4. Think about that. Think about that. Think about how disturbing that is as a child, as a parent, as anybody. This kid freaking beats another kid with a 2x4 when he's 5 years old. So I got suspended for a day or two and come back. And but they were like, they're like, I remember they called my mother, and she's like, they're like, what is wrong with your son? And they started doing testing. And I remember not shortly after that, they gave me an IQ test, which is the first time I ever took an IQ test. Later on in the year, in my life, they give me IQ tests several times, and it's always the same score. Exceptional. It's like gifted. That's what they say, is gifted. And all it was a bunch of freaking puzzles and crap. You know what I'm saying? And I was timed on it. And I was like, bang. You know, I couldn't get them all because nobody does unless you're like freaking a mastermind. But they tested me, and I remember them saying, it's like funny how they talk right in front of you about you, but your mother's there, and they're talking to your mother, but like you're not even there. Like you're too stupid to understand what's happening in this conversation. His problem is this. He does this. He doesn't that. He doesn't. I'm like, I'm right freaking here. You want to tell me? So they said, you know, he's smart. He can learn. He's very, very intelligent. He just gets easily distracted and whatever. I'm like, yeah, I don't like school. A few mother effers. And all these rich kids, And I mean, so I had like a couple of cousins in school with me, from the neighborhood, like Johnny and Frankie, and they were trouble making mother effers too. Their father, one was in prison, and I don't remember where the other one was, but they like, they became bad advice. Their mothers had money, obviously, because they had these big ass mansions, and stuff like that. I think the one dad had a bunch of money, and the other one married a bunch of money and then left them. But anyways, kind of a couple cousins like that. My cousin Angela was like that too. He lived downriver. Anyway, so that's it. So I started over the next so many odd years. That's kind of how it would go, man. I did not like bullies. So I'm going to run through some stories about me and bullies, man. I remember when I was in 4th grade, for example, I was at a school. I think it was Graham was the name of the school. It was Lance Cruz School District, Graham. And this is how weird and crazy my freaking mind works. And it's still like this. And I've talked about this and my producer. And like my mind still can work like this, but I've learned to control it and cage it so nothing bad happens, because I don't want to go back to prison. That's the reason I would live out here in the boonies. Why is he out here in the boonies? Well, that's because I don't want to be around people, because they could push me to snap and do what I used to do. And it's funny, people who don't know me, they have no idea, especially like, trolls and stuff like, oh, this guy's full of shit, I don't believe anything. But if you knew me, or you know people who know me, go back and find some people who know me. Go back and find some people who grew up with me. There's hundreds of them. Ask them how I was. Ask them what I was like. And they'll be honest. And then at the end of the day, you'll have to shut the fuck up, because you're going to be like, they said he was just like what he said. I was 4th grade. We're on recess. I have this kid who's not even a really good friend of mine. I think his name is Alan. I see a kid who I guess the kid is a pretty good friend of mine. He sits at my table, so there's like 6 of us. We had a little crew called the Z Team, because the A Team show was on. We loved the A Team. B.A. Baracus with like Mr. T and stuff. And there was my friend Ethan, and the other one was Alan, and we all thought we were cool. We had a little team. And I see some rando kid who would actually turn out to be Alan's friend from the neighborhood. Like, he grew up with him, but I didn't know this. I see this kid jump on the back of my homeboy, Alan. Like I said, I'm not really good friends with him, but he's part of my table crew. So 4th grade, I remember my teacher's name, Miss Zier. She was evil. She looked like the Wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz. She's just an ugly, wicked looking woman. She grabbed me by my nose one time, started shaking. It hurt like hell. I slapped her. Bam, bitch. She couldn't believe it. She hated me. She sent me to the office about 100 times. So I see this kid jump on the back of my boy Alan. Jumps on his back. So, like I said, my mind, it was so fragile and sensitive. And it's like I said, it still is, but I can control it. That I snapped. I just snapped. I saw black, and I snapped. This is my friend. There's somebody bullying him. Jumped on his back, and Alan was trying to get him off. I didn't know what the frick was, why. So I grabbed the kid and yanked him off, and freaking, it was the first time I ever knocked anybody out. 4th grade. I was like, I threw this haymaker punch. Like, I didn't even know how to throw a punch back then. That was 4th grade. Nobody told me. My uncle didn't teach me how to freaking box. He didn't teach me how to freaking jaw shot. And I just threw this haymaker. I was like, wham! Just a wild punch like this. Bang! Hit him right in the jaw. Knocks this mother effer out cold. Knocks him out. Bang! Stretches him. And the worst part was that the lunch lady was like, one of the yard women, or the whatever it is, man, I'm using prison terms. Like the playground women were out there. She was right there, saw the whole thing. Bang! This mother effer, bang! He stretched. 4th grade. Everyone stops and they're looking. This is when it gets really crazy, man. So I'm standing there, and the lunch lady is like, couldn't believe it. She was in shock. The kid's knocked out. And all of a sudden, some nerdy mother effing kid, some nerdy mother effing dorky kid that I never even spoke to in my life. He walks up and goes, "Who did this?" Like he's looking at us, and like the lunch lady, me, whatever. And he goes, "Who did this?" And I said, "I did." "Why?" And he goes, whap, and slapped me in the face, and just a good freaking solid slap was. I said, "Motherfucker, kill you, man." That's when I blacked out. "Motherfucker, I'm gonna kill you." And I just freaking ran after him. He freaking ran. And I'm chasing him all around. He's running through the yard and the field. And then the lunch lady's running after me. Finally, I got him. I catch him. He's behind the lunch lady. He's hiding. I mean, I'm gonna kill this mother. I'm thinking about pounding this freaking head in, man. He slapped me. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. And and I go to throw a punch and try to hit him in the face, and I hit the lunch lady right in the stomach because he ducked behind her right at the wrong time. I was like, yeah, and boom, I hit the lunch lady. Boom, knocks the wind out of her. She's over. I end up in the principal's office, and they're like, we got to up his dose of Ritalin. You know, you're Ritalin. They put me up to 80 milligrams of Ritalin a day, which I don't know much about Ritalin, but from my understanding, that was pretty high dose. Because the average person gets like 5-10 milligrams a couple times a day. They were giving me 20 milligrams 4 times a day. So it didn't do nothing, man. It didn't even slow me down. They made it even higher though. One time, this is a funny story. What was her name? I had a 5th grade teacher. She was cute. She wasn't a huge fan of mine, but she was nice enough. I can't remember, man. I remember she was cute though. We were all in line waiting to go into the music room, right? And she's like, shut up. Everybody's got to be quiet. If anyone talks, they're in trouble. So we're all sitting in line, right? And she made me come up to the front of the line all the time because I was always talking and I was causing trouble and messing with people. And there's other classes are walking from like other classrooms back to their main class from this or whatever. And I would, I'd start talking, shoot spit wad, throw stuff, whatever, and mess with them as they're walking by. I knew some of them. Everybody knew me. And so she's like, Lynn Bloom, get up. What was their name, man? Something with a Y. I can't remember. She's like, Lynn Bloom, stand behind me. So I used to do something funny. Like everybody would do this and you try to make your face turn red. That I was doing that. She's in front of me. She can't see or hear me. I'm behind her, just going, trying to make my face red. And all the people across the hall are freaking staring and they're laughing. They're all like, man, I'm not beat freaking red, man. Veins popping out. And then I passed out. I fall right into my teacher. Right into her. Just right into her back. Bang! And like almost knock her over, man. Boom. She was a little thing. And it's flop on the floor. Bang! And she turns around freaking like, what the fuck? Like she's mad because she's like been assaulted. She feels like she's been assaulted. And I'm like, all I remember is like kind of half waking up. She's like, come get up, you go to the office. She takes me to the office. She's like, and she's super mad. And I'm just like, listen, I passed out. She's like, why? I'm like, nothing. I was sitting there passed out. She's like, why? She's like, and the other kid's like, he's trying to make his face turn red. I'm so freaking what? I was making my face turn red. So I passed out. So freaking what? Sitting her down. No, she didn't like me after that. One more funny story about that year, though. I have to tell it. That same year, I remember her teacher so distinctly because in the last day of school, I got so much stuff, man. It's funny. My desk was just crammed with garbage and crap, like old school, like assignments and crap that I never turned in, just papers and smashed into the freaking desk. Just smashed in there. And on the last day of school, they give you a garbage bag and like, you clean out your locker and clean out your school. I remember, and like at one point, like 3 months before, they had brought McDonald's in and gave everybody like 2 hamburgers. And I ate like 1.5, but I saved the other half, wrapped up with that. I ate the rest later. I don't want to eat it all. It's good, And then I totally forgot about it. And so I'm digging out my crap in there, and I'm like, freaking half a burger that's 3 months old is in my desk. Anyways, so I got this big bag of crap from my locker, and it's just papers and assignments and all the papers I got turned in and gave back, and a lot of like pencils and pens and crayons and erasers, and it's just a ton of crap, man. So I was in 5th grade. It was 5th grade that year. That woman, I can't remember her name for the life of me, but it pops in something with a Yeats, something with a Y. So I get this big bag of freaking stuff, and they put me on the bus. It's the last day of school. People aren't gonna even believe this, So I'm on the bus. This is what a freaking troublemaking thug I am. And the whole freaking way to my house, and I was on one of the last people, the way the bus route went. I was one of the, there was maybe like 10 people left on the bus when we got to my house. Maybe a few more, 15. But there was 50, 60 people before that, kids. And the whole time, so the bitch I remember right away. I said the F word, and she's like, "Come up here and sit." The bus driver said, "Sit in the front of the freaking bus, in the very front seat." And I'm like, "It's the last day of school, man. I don't give a F about you." And she says, "Watch your mouth." I remember saying, "How am I going to watch my mouth? It's on my face." And when I pull my eyes off, everybody started laughing. So I'm digging in my bag and I'm throwing shit, bags, wads of paper, bang. And she's telling me, stop, stop, stop. But people are whipping things back. So I get the whole bus is just freaking whizzing stuff back and forth. The whole bus, and everyone's, I mean, people, and the poor driver is like, it's like driving around, she's stop, stop. And we're just like, shut up, throwing crap, papers flying, pencils flying back and forth. It's like me against like 20 people. And they're all winging crap at me. And they're bouncing off the windshield, bouncing off, like they're hitting her. She's like, "What the frick? I'm trying to drive this bus." So we get to my stop. And she says, "I'm not," she lets the other, he's like, "Don't move." She lets the other kids off the bus. There's like 3 people at my stop. There's a girl named Tony and Nina Pinello was the name. They live a house away from me. John Campus was right there. Maybe the Colts is this other kid named Brad. They live right there. So, but she won't let me off the bus. Like she stands there in front of me. She won't let me off the bus. I said, what are you doing, man? It's the last day of school, man. I want to go fishing because I lived across the street from the lake. I went fishing every day. I could not wait to get home to go fishing. I was going to grab my freaking fishing pole and I'm going to dig up some worms. I'm going to go hit the lake. I'm going to catch me some fish. I did it every day, me and my boys and fishing. Nope, you ain't going. It's a beautiful, sunny, warm day. You know, it's like June 5th or whatever it is. She says, "You're going back to the school and helping to clean up this bus." She tells me that. I'm like, "What? I'm not going back to the school to clean up the bus?" She says, "Yes, you are." So this is how insane I was, bro. She gets back in, and everybody's quiet because she's really pissed off. She gets back in the bus. You know, she shuts the door, gets back in her seat. And the second she puts her seatbelt on and puts that mother effing bus in gear, I take my bag, I throw it out the window, and I do a flip right out the window. I just jump through the window and do a straight up flip and land on my feet. She's already like stopping the bus as I'm flipping out and opening the door, and she's running after me. She was quick. She stopped it quick. But I mean, I literally grabbed the window and just did a flip. I knew I could fit. So I just flipped. It's easy. You know, a lot of people are like, I was athletic as a mother effort. It was perfect. I just did a flip, went, boom, landed on my feet, grabbed my bag and took off running. She chased me too. And I'll never forget what she says. She goes, "You little," she wanted to say F and she didn't say it though. She goes, "You little jerk." And I go, ran off from my bag, ran behind the house that was the house next to my house, and got away. And then they called my mother and they told her what happened, and they forced me to come back to the school and clean up a bunch of crap in the school. And that's why I remember that day, because my 5th grade teacher, she was still there, and I was with her like helping clean the room up and clean it up. And you know, I had to go back to the school for a day and clean up because I made it. Anyway, so let's go back to another bully. So I ended up going to another Lance Crew school when I was in 8th grade. First day of school. I standing there. The school's about to get out. Standing in this hall, and the guy who I'm talking about, Ron Konwinski, he might hear this because he's friends with me and he does follow some of my stuff. And he was a madman back in the day. His brother was too, Rick Konwinski. But I'm just standing there minding my business, first day of school. And all of a sudden, bang, this motherfucker punches me in the back of the head hard, too, man. Boom, my head bounces off the window. So I was looking out the window, bang, bang. And I turned around, so swinging out of motherfucker. We started fighting. Yeah, we got in trouble. We got caught, and I think we got suspended or, a day or whatever. And we became friends after that. But I was like, freaking hate bullies. Now, this is about the same time this kid named Ethan, who I was cool with in 4th grade, but now I'm in 8th grade. He kind of like grew, I don't know what he grew a pair of balls, right? So I'm like, this is like my first week of school in 8th grade at Lance Cruz. I haven't seen this kid because I got transferred to another school. I went from Graham to Tenniswood. So I haven't seen him in like 4 years. Now he sees me, and he's like a little bit bigger, not really bigger than me, but we all kind of grew up. And he's super cocky, and he always thought he was tough, but he wasn't. The very first day I met him in that school in Graham, where he was sitting at my table with me, first day we were sitting there, first thing out of his mouth, he goes, "I'm going to beat your ass today, dude." I said, yeah, I want to see that. He kept saying, I'm going to beat your ass. But then by the end of the day, he's like, I was just messing with you. I was just messing with you. And then one day, 4 years later, I'm in the chow hall, right? And I walk up with my tray and set my tray down to eat. And there was a little bit of room between me and the wall. Not enough room for probably any people because it was all these people. And I'm hungry for tater tots all of a sudden. And this kid, Ethan Glass, he comes walking up. And he like gets right here. So the wall's right there behind him. And he goes, I'm going to beat your ass after school, Al. I'm going to beat your ass. Same bullshit he tried with me in 4th grade. And I had just buttered up my bread. I had a piece of buttered bread. And everybody's watching. Everybody, because they think he's a tough guy. They think he's, guy's acting like a tough guy. He's a tough guy. He just called me out. So he's going to beat my ass at the school. And this is how calm and cool and collected I was. I took buttered my bread a little bit more, and I looked at him and said, yeah? He said, yeah. I'm like, I grabbed this buttered bread and just go smash into his face and smash him off the wall. Smash him off the wall a couple times. Wham, wham. I said, all right, good look at that motherfucker. And he dropped it. The bread like slid off his face. And he's like, he couldn't believe it. He didn't know what to do. He just walked away like a little bitch, never did nothing. And that was the end of that. He never messed with me again. So there's this one kid, I wish I could remember his name, man. He got hit by a truck or bus. I can't remember. I think it was a truck, a semi-truck. And he was all, what's his name, man? Mark? I think it was Mark. The poor kid got wrecked from a bus, and he limped really bad. Really bad. And but he was actually a really handsome kid, and he had good genetics, man. This mother effer was buff as hell, and even in 8th grade, he was already like stocky and all muscle. And he had this horrible limp. It's horrible. But everything else worked on him. I don't know if he worked out or what, but that dude, he was his buff. Something was wrong with him. He also had a cleft lip. So he had a cleft lip and his bad limp. But he was still like a really handsome guy. Way better looking than me. And he was nice. His name was Dave. Thank you. His name was David. And he was a nice guy. He didn't bother nobody. He was a good kid. Just mind his business. If you talk to him, he talked to you. He didn't think he was better than anybody. He didn't think he was more popular than anybody. He was just, he was just himself. So I was in in-house suspension one day, and which is they stick you in a freaking closet and just leave you all there to do your homework. It's a nightmare. It's a precursor to prison. I think I've done videos about that, but it's a really evil thing to do to a kid like me who was hyperkinetic and very interactive and stuff. They would, rather than suspend me, because I got in like 10 fights, and they kept sending me home. So finally, just like, we're going to stick him in the closet. Here's your homework. That's it. Suspension. Maybe that'll break him of his behavior. And it did, really, because it was horrible. Dude, you know how long sitting in that closet for, it's like a little tiny room, like a closet with a light and a desk for 8 hours. I could just leave to go pee or use go to eat. That's it. And it was just miserable, man. It just tick, tick, tick. And I hated the homework. The homework was super lame and stupid. I had no interest in it whatsoever. None. I like science and history and war and anything cool, but the stuff they gave me was so stupid and lame. I didn't. Anyways, so I go to the bathroom one day. I'm in in-house suspension, right? And as I'm walking towards the bathroom, I see these two dudes go into the bathroom. They're older kids. I must have been in 7th grade because... Or maybe, I think that school went up to 9th grade is what it was. And I was in 8th. No, I was in 7th grade. That's just funny. I was in 7th grade. I forgot I did 7th grade there. That's right, because there was like the 8th graders were the big kids. They were like the bigger, tougher kids. It's funny how much a kid grows between 7th and 8th grade. That's like the puberty spurt. That's like where you go from, from like 12, 13, 14. It just, everybody grows. So the 8th graders were like, boom, like 20, 30% bigger than the 7th graders. And I was a late bloomer to begin with, so I was small. So I'm walking in, I see these two 8th graders walk in. And then I heard it's like I hear a confrontation. The guys yelling, and then I hear crash, bang, bang, crash, 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 bang. And I freaking open bathroom door, and these two mother effers are fighting this kid Dave, the crippled kid. He's fighting him. He's back against the wall in the corner, and he's straight up going, "What's up?" Bow, bow. And they're rushing, bang, bang, hitting him. He's like, boom, boom, and they're just throwing down. So I snap. I see black. I just rush in there, grab a kid by the neck, pull him back, throw him off, and start fighting the other kid. And then we're both in there fighting. He's got me pinned up, but he's way bigger than me, so he's smashing me up against the bathroom stall. He's trying to hit me, and I'm trying to block it and hit him. And all of a sudden, the teacher comes walking in because there was a classroom across the hall with a door open, and they heard crash, crash. Oh, fuck you, motherfucker. And he comes crashing in and grabs us all by our gruff. Come on. I'm already suspended for fighting, and I'm in the bathroom fighting. And I tried to say I was in there helping this kid, but they didn't care. They just thought I was in there being a douchebag trying to fight some older kids. There was another kid, man. I'll tell you, I'm getting to some of these stories that I'm reminded of when I think of bullies, you know. So there's a kid I don't want to forget, but the reason I got suspended from that school, expelled indefinitely from that school was shortly after that when I just told you, God, I was such a freaking lunatic, man. This is a lunatic. And I hope these entertain you, but I want you to know that I had a mental problem. Certainly, I was mentally ill to a degree. I came up in a really bad environment, and this is the result. So if you're a parent and you're raising your child and you're not raising them right, then this is going to be the result. This is what's going to happen. I'm not saying guaranteed it's going to happen. Not saying you're guaranteed to end up like me, but our thing beanie. But this is what happens when you neglect to raise a child right, and have a proper father figure and mentor in his life, and nobody's checking these behaviors. So like the only people who said anything about my dad didn't even give a shit because he was drunk and a loser. The only people who said anything was my Uncle Pete, and my Uncle Pete thought it was funny. He thought it was great. He's like, "Oh, this is awesome. I love this." And the more I fought, the better it was. So he liked me. My mom, she's like, "Oh, he's a sweet boy. He can never do no wrong. He's perfect." You know what I'm saying? That was that. So I'm walking down the hall one day, and there was this kid named Bruce the Moose. Call him Bruce the Moose because he was the big guy, big kid. He's bigger than the rest of us, right? But he's like a gentle giant, a really sweetheart, nice guy. He was kind of a dork, but I could see him. I can hear his voice right now. I wish I could find him. I wish I knew his name. I'd reach out to him and hug him. I hope he's got a beautiful family. He's very happy. He was a nice kid, and he was just such a sweet kid. And he was kind of goofy. He'd say goofy like stuff, not in a like dumb way, like he was like stupid. He was kind of goofy, but it was in a funny way. And he was a good kid. And he thought, if you think I'm goofy because I say goofy stuff, you don't have to like me. I'm just me. Big tall kid, kind of big. So one day he's at the drinking fountain and he's drinking some water. And there was this new kid in school. His name was Bill Plunkett. So Bill Plunkett, if you ever see this, which he might, he's around too. This is what happened. I thought you were a douchebag, and this is why I did what I did. I spoken to you after this happened. We were cool, whatever. But this is why I never liked you, because of this. This kid named Bill Plunkett is walking down the hall, and this is in between classes, so everybody's kind of coming and going. And he, for whatever reason, he like body checks Bruce the Moose into the drinking fountain. Bruce is drinking water out of the drinking fountain. So like he checks him into the thing. Boom. And it could have knocked his freaking teeth out. You know what I'm saying? He didn't. He just kind of hit the wall. I was like, hey, what the like turn around like, yo, dude, what's your problem? But I snap. I see it. I happen to be walking by right there, and I don't do well with bullies. So I snap. He had a bunch of pencils in his hand, like a gross of pencils, like 12 in a pack with cardboard around it. He had them in his hand. And I just walked up and I said, bam, and I grab him out of his hand. And I snap him all over, like, crack. And I go, I throw him in your face. I said, you want to bully someone, mother effer? Bully me, punk ass mother effer. And he stares at me. I said, yeah, that's what I thought, motherfucker. And I turned around and walked away. Took about 3 steps, and this little freaking dude jumped on my back like a spider monkey, man. And he freaking, I flipped him over my back and wailing on him. I got him down on the floor. Wham, pound his face in, right? It just so happened my principal, Pegleg Johnson, was walking down the hall. And he was very familiar with who I was. And he runs over and broke it up, pulled me off of him. I didn't know. I told him the story, what he did. I guess that doesn't give me a right to pound somebody's face in, right? But, so my principal calls my mother, at the time, by the way, my mother was in a mental institution. She was institutionalized. And nobody knew. Nobody knew, except me and my sister. Me and my sister had been living alone by ourselves for like 3 weeks. And not telling anyone nothing. My grandparents lived in Grosse Pointe. We told them we had food. They didn't know. I don't know. They just didn't know. So eventually they called. The principal called our house, couldn't get a hold of my mom. So they called, I think, my grandparents. And they were like, yeah, where's your mom? We told them. And then my grandparents are like, you know, George, my dad, he's like, you got to take the kids. Like, they're freaking, she's in a mental institution. They're alone. You got to take them. Now, luckily, my sister had a car and a driver's license, so she could drive. She was 16, so she could drive to her school and finish school where she went to school. I had to go start a new school. So I get kicked out of school. I go start a new school, Kennedy Middle School. And I'll tell you how long that lasted before I freaking beat some bully's ass. So I'm there a day or two, and I noticed this guy. His name is Craig Sachecki. Craig, if you ever watch this, man, I don't really give a shit. You're a douchebag your whole life. You probably know it. I beat your ass the one time. I'll do it again. I'll do it right now. But I mean, we became cool a long time after this. But he was always kind of a cocky douchebag. Always, even after we fought. But the guy was such a bully. I'm watching him, and every day when you go into the gym to warm up gym class, you got to run a couple laps, right? And he would run laps around everybody, slapping everybody in the head. He'd run, bang, bang, bang. He liked doing it. He was a big kid. He was bigger than everybody else. He was bigger. There was only one kid in the school he was afraid of, Gino Bianchetti, who was also kind of a bully too. But Gino would bully him. He was scared of Gino because they'd grown up together. They knew each other. I think Gino had beat his ass before. So other than that, everybody was scared of this kid named Craig. His dad was a cop. Craig was a big dude. He was super athletic. He played all the sports. He played everything. He was a superstar and everything. And his dad was freaking would beast on him if he made a mistake on soccer game or baseball. He's like, you punk mother, I'd slap him. And so he was a tough kid. So he slaps me in the back of the head. And I'm not going to stand for this, man. I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to sit here and start a new school and have everybody in the school think I'm some bitch-ass mother effer, let this punk mother effer slap me in the head. And that just, it was nothing really major. He was just kind of playing with people, but he was a bully. I'd watched him bully a bunch of other people, bully him during gym and during recess. So the ball, he's playing basketball, the ball bounces over to me. And I gather the basketball and I see he's standing right there, but his back is to me. And I freaking just go, wham, and bang, bounce that ball off the back of his head. Boom, just bounce it off his head. He says, oh, who the fuck did that? I said, I did. What you going to do? He said, I'll beat your ass, mother effer. I said, well, beat it then. Let's go. What you going to do? He's like, oh, I'm not getting kicked out the basketball team because of you, mother. We'll do it tomorrow after school. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow after school. So what happened was I went home and caught the flu. Literally caught the flu, became sick as a dog, one of the worst sicknesses I've ever had. I didn't even go to school the next day, and I looked like a bitch. I was deathly ill. It was horrible. There's no way I could go fight anyone. Couldn't even go to school. It was horrible. So one of these kids who walked by my house on the way to school, his name was Mickey Walsh. Mickey's a big fan. He's read my books. Good dude. I said, Mickey, man, tell Craig that I'll meet him up at the school tomorrow. It was a half day. I said, I'll meet him at 12 o'clock at the school. He's like, I'll tell him. So he goes and tells him. So long story short is I went up there and there was nobody there because school had let out an hour ago. Everybody's home. He shows up with Gino because they had basketball practice. Me and this mother effer threw down for about 10 minutes. Now, 10 minutes don't sound like a long time. 10 minutes is a long fight. It's like 3-minute rounds, bro. It was legit 10 minutes we threw down. And it was the longest fight of my life. And he was one of the toughest mother effers I fought. Maybe the toughest guy I ever fought. And I landed a nice lucky punch on the nose, exploded his nose, and that kind of freaking made him punk out at the end. He's like, well, what's the draw? I'm like, no, we're going to finish it. Slamming my head off the concrete, man. We threw blows like hockey. Bang, 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 bang. Like I had him by the shirt. He had me. Boom, 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 boom. We're going in circles. Bang, bang, bang. Now here's the dude who's supposed to be like the toughest kid in the school, barring Gino. And I'm this new kid who's been here 3 freaking days. And I'm freaking walloping this mother effer. Now, word gets back because Mickey Walsh, by the way, who was there with his brother Scott. Scott and Mickey showed up to the fight. And then, because they knew about the time. And so they told everybody. Gino told everybody. So now I go to school. Everybody in the school thinks I'm a freaking, a bad mother effer. Like, this new kid named Al beat Craig Sachecki's ass. He didn't beat his ass like good, but he beat his ass. And he ain't to be played with. And I do remember one more instance in that school where there was a kid named Chris something or another. Not Chris Ritter, but he was this kid, blonde kid, kind of stocky, bigger than me. God, he's bullying mother effers. I see him punch this kid in the stomach. He just punches some kid in the stomach, man. And this kid's like a little dork, you know what I'm saying? Like, I always looked out for the dorks and the nerds, and I'd sit with them, I'd eat with them, and never not anyone. Nobody bullied nobody around me. I hated bullies. And so I see this kid bullying this kid. This kid's like a nerd, man. And he punches him in the stomach. Kid doubles over. Man, I went over that motherfucker. I was so mad. And grabbed him by his hair. I said, you want to bully someone, motherfucker? Bully me. I get him. I'll beat your fucking head in, you motherfucker. I said, you're lucky, you know, because there's cops, you know, the teachers and crap were all around. So I freaking smash your fucking head in. And he's like, all right, man. All right. I said, tough guy. You're a real tough guy. You're a bitch. And then I went on to high school. And there was more bullies. And I'll end it on like one or two more stories. But I do remember one time there was this handicapped kid named Gus, and he was counting his money in the hallway, and some asshole comes walking by and like snatches his money. Now the kid Gus was the brother of a friend of mine named Pete Ferenzi. Pete was cool. I actually became really good friends with the guy for a while, but then he like got a little bit older and did some steroids and started working out, and he thought he was like a superstar. He became a model and thought he was better than everyone, and he still does. And I'm just like, he's a douchebag. Everybody thinks he's a douchebag. But at the time, I liked the kid. He was a good kid. I saved him from getting his ass beat one time. Or no, I didn't save him. My friend asked me to be there while he fought another dude so nobody would jump in. I don't even know the kid. So my friend comes over and says, Al, my boy Pete's about to fight after school. You know, can you come to, you know, make sure nobody jumps in? I'm like, who? He's like, hey, it's my friend. I lived on my street. I grew up on. He's a good dude. My friend Mark Hammerschmidt, who's been on my show, he says, this guy, yeah, I said, all right, cool. I go there. And so I show up, I pull up on my Ninja. I got a wife beater on. Everybody in the school knows me. I'm freaking, you know, kind of a legend by now. So I was probably 18, 19 years old. And I pull up and say, you know, they're coming out to fight. Everybody's packed around waiting for this fight. I said, nobody's jumping in. I know that. And everyone's like, you know, Al's here. And so the two of them start fighting, and they both fight like pussies. I'm laughing. I'm going, I go, somebody throw a freaking punch, because they're like grabbing each other, pushing each other. I said, you guys both fight like a couple of girls, and fight or get it over with, you bunch of bitches. And Pete started throwing punches, and Pete ended up winning the fight. But so this kid Gus is sitting there counting his money, and this douchebag walks by, and he's like, Gus is slow. Gus is a good-looking kid, though. He's like a good-looking, kind of big, kind of dumb, slow Italian kid. And he's Gus. His name is Gus, and he's kind of slow. But he was a nice kid. Really nice kid. I liked him. I have conversation with him. He was slow. Obviously, he was mentally ill, but he was slow. And this kid, he's just counting his money, man. He's got like $4 or $5 in his hand. He's like, I got money. And somebody walks by and goes, snatch. And I freaking snap on the mother. I grab that motherfucker by his throat. I said, get this fucking mother. I actually punched him in the face, boom. But I mean, I knew that I saw a teacher was coming down the hall when I first grabbed him, because we were at an T, and he was standing right at the edge of the T. So when he did that, he kept walking. I grabbed him and pulled him back so, you know, you couldn't see the teacher that was coming down the hall. And I grabbed him by the throat. I said, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? I slapped him. I said, get this man's money back, man. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I said, hey, Gus, here's your money. He's like, oh, thank you. I just hated. And there was a guy, I'm not even going to say his full name. His name was Chris, but he was a big freaking bully. And he tried to punk me. And this is the biggest kid in the school, and probably the toughest, the guy that everybody thought was the toughest. He's a football player. This dude had a full-on beard like I got right now when he was like 17. But at this point, he's 18. And he was a good-looking guy, very handsome. Dark-haired, he's not Italian, but I say his name, Chris Carver. Fuck him. If you got anything to say about me, eat a dick. I don't, you know, it is what it is. I mean, no offense. No, sorry about my language, but I just don't like douchebags, man. I don't like bullies. I just don't like them. And so I'm walking down the street. I got a tracksuit on, kind of like this one, but not black and white. And I'm walking down the street, and here comes this car full of like kids, right? And I'm crossing the street on the sidewalk, and I'm not going to run to get away from the car, because it's the car. The car got to slow down. They're pulling up to a main street, Jefferson, and I'm walking on the sidewalk. So I don't have to, you know, like I know they're going to stop, so why should I like run ahead? And they freaking like fly up at me like they're going to hit me, and they beat the door, and they're like, get the fuck out of the way, punk, or something like that. And I said, man, F you. And then freaking the big one jumps out the back seat, this big one, with Carver. He goes, what'd you say, punk? I said, man, F you. He's like, I beat your little punk ass. I said, well, do it then. If that's what you want to do, man, do it. Tough guy. He's like a head taller than me. I'm literally at this point, 120 pounds. Literally 120 pounds. I'm not a penny more. He's about 220 in all muscle, because he was benching like 400 or 500 pounds in high school. He's a big dude, played football, and he's in good shape. And he gets right in my face, and he's like, "Man, you freaking crazy little punk mother effer, man. He said, I'll beat your freaking ass." I said, "Well, do it then, man. I ain't scared of nobody. Let's do it. What you gonna do? Do what you're gonna do. Throw a punch." He's like, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "Throw a punch and find out." He starts laughing. He said, "Man, kid, you got mental problems." Man. And he went and got in the car and started laughing, and they took off. And they're like, now go fast forward a couple of months. It's my first day, like third day of high school, and I'm coming out of the parking lot to go with my friend to leave school for the day at the end of the day, and I'm walking by and he shoves me, boom. I don't say he remembers, he shoves me, just trying to be a bitch, shoves me. I shove him back, motherfucker, man. And he goes, "What's that? I'll beat your ass, kid." And I freaking ball up my fist like, I said, "Man, beat my ass then." He's like, "What are you going to do?" Right in my face, just like before, just towering over me. And all these people are crowding around. Like 100 people start going. Some of my friends are like, "Hey, man, calm down, man. You get your freaking self killed, bro. Relax." And I was like, "Man, F you, mother uppers. This is between me and him." I said, "What you going to do?" He's like, "What are you going to do? What you going to do?" I said, "Hit me and find out. Hit me and find out." Now, in my mind, I was prepared to get my ass beat. I was already thinking, well, if he beats my ass, he beats my ass. I can care less. I'm not going to be known as the kid who gets punked out by some bully. I know that. I'm going to be the guy who gets his ass beat, goes down swinging, fighting the bully, or maybe I beat his ass. Maybe I let him. Maybe, who knows? In my mind, I thought I got a chance. Probably not, but maybe. I'm gonna go out swinging. He's gonna have to freaking. I'm not stopping until he knocks me out. So I'm just gonna keep swinging, fight to either I run out of steam or he knocks me out. And I guess he sensed that. He sensed that that was, what I was willing to do. And all these people thought I was nuts. And he looks at me, goes down, looking at me, starts laughing. He said, "Man, kid, you got mental problems, man. You ain't even worth my time." I said, "Yeah, that's what I thought, motherfucker. Keep stepping." Now, keep in mind, I was not a popular kid. They all thought I was a loser. I failed 8th grade. So I failed 8th grade the previous year. I was in 8th grade the previous year, but that was my second time. And my second time in 8th grade, I got expelled. I was kicked out of school indefinitely halfway through the year and became a drug dealer and drove around the neighborhood on a moped selling coke and weed and whatever, acid, whatever else I could find to all the losers in the neighborhood. Everybody knew me as a drug dealer, as a thug, as a punk, the guy who failed 8th grade and got kicked out of 8th grade. And so here I am now. I don't got really even any friends. I got 2 or 3 friends. My friend Jay and Ricky, that's it. Nobody likes me. Nobody wants nothing to do with me. And here I am standing up to the toughest kid in the school. I'm a freshman. Who's a year older than most freshmen. And I'm like, "F you, whatever." From that point on, I just kept standing up to any bullies who tried to try me. And there was a bunch of them that tried me over the years. Older ones. They're always the older ones, 10, they're like 19, 20, 21, 22. And you go to parties and then, the guys are at high school parties, but they're 23 years old. We know who they are, from the neighborhood. They're a little bit bigger and they've been drinking a little while and gained some weight. They try to kind of beast on me. And by the time I was 18, 19 years old, I started lifting weights and freaking working out and getting in shape. And I kind of blossomed and filled out a little bit. All those bully mother effers were going, "What's up, Al? How you doing, brother, man? Looking good, brother." Even that kid Carver, all of them, Carver, every time you see me, you'd be all drunk. He's like, "What's up, man? I can still whoop your ass." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Well, you can tell yourself that, man." I tell yourself that, but probably not. He's always all drunk. I mean, he was a big guy, strong. He was cool, but he was just a talker, man. He's one of those freaking talkers. They all are talkers. They always are talking. And I'm going to finish it on a story from the clubs. It's the same thing with the bullies in the clubs, man. They're talkers. The bullies are the ones who are either going to pick on the weak and the ones who won't fight back or are scared to fight back, or don't have the means to fight back. And bullies can bully. Well, I hate men who pick on women. Man, I've damaged men who freaking who pick on women, like who have abused women. Damage them. I could do a whole show on that. I one time a guy, I was basically, I won't say paid, but I arranged for one of my own cousins actually to get his ass whooped for slapping his wife around, because his wife's uncle was a wise guy. And he told me to warn him, and I did, and I warned him a few times and stop slapping your wife. He's like, "Oh, she gets drunk and slaps me and blah, blah, blah." And in fact, I don't want to say her name. I'm not going to say her name. But I was at court one day, going to court for driving on suspended, and I saw her there, and I didn't even realize she's actually my 4th grade girlfriend. And she sees me, she's staring at me, and she finally goes, "You don't recognize me?" I said, "You look familiar." She's like, it's and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "Yeah, I remember, I'm married." And I'm like, "My cousin?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Get out of there." And she's like, "Yeah, how things?" She's like, "Not so good. He gets drunk and slaps me around." I'm like, "What?" So I tell him, I go in the market, in Eastern Market where he hangs out. He's got a place, and I'm like, yo, dude, what are you doing? You got slapped your wife around, man. You know who her uncle is? He's like, yeah. So he kept doing it. I warned him 2-3 times, and so one day the uncle and their cousin, they had me bring him up to Wild Woodies, the nightclub, and this is on a Wednesday, I think. So there wasn't a lot of people in there, and early in the evening, and we had a beer too, and just kind of flirting on with the nurse, the waitresses. And I said, hey, you want to go outside and smoke a joint? And he's like, yeah. I said, come on, let's go outside and smoke a joint. So we go out the back door, through the back door, and they're waiting back there. So as soon as I walk out the back door, I grab him in a freaking chokehold, right? And the uncle and the freaking cousin, they come popping out behind the dumpster, and they start pounding his face, and freaking he's holding a beer, and he like drops the beer and it breaks, and the cousin picks up the broken bottle and stabs him in the throat, man. And it almost got me because I'm holding him by the throat. So he's like, man, I didn't want him to stab me. I was like, what the frick, man? And dude, just put a freaking hole in his neck, this big goofy gash, huge one, gushing. It wasn't like an artery gush, but it was just like a big chunk of meat hanging out, and they just beat the frick hell out of him. And that's what you get for picking on a woman, bullying a woman. There's a lot of different ways to bully. And like I said, when I was in the club, I had an MO in the nightclub. And anybody who freaking knows me from back in the day, the East Side, when I hung out in the nightclub circuit, there's about 10 different clubs. Wild Woodies, City Rhythms, Lipsticks, Rhythm Cafe, Club Hollywood, Emerald Ballroom, Skinnies, all these clubs where we go bouncing around and hang out and mac on hoes. And there's always like a different group of girls hanging out there for a few weeks. Then they'd go to the other club, and then a different club. Girls from that club would go to this club, and it's just a circuit. And you kind of get to know everybody who's who, and you even know where everybody's from. There's the Sterling Heights guys, there's the Roseville guys, there's the East Detroit guys. They all have their little crews and kind of know each other. And some of them crews you've beefed with, and you've gotten fights with, and you've knocked them out and beat the crap out of them. Then you see them freaking a year later in the club, and it's like, what are you gonna do? Start a fight with a guy freaking that you beat up a year ago or got in a fight with, and F him, buy him a drink, whatever. It wasn't like the kind of thing where it was like a mob war going on, but we were beefed out. Sometimes we keep the fuel going. Like the St. Clair Shores and East Detroit guys would always beef no matter what. As soon as they see each other, it's a fight. Don't matter how long it's been, doesn't matter. It's always going to be a fight. But one thing that I hated about the guys is so you see these freaking guys, right? And you know who they are. Let's call them Sterling Heights guys. They're a perfect example. The Sterling Heights guys, there's a lot of Italian guys, and there's a lot of mob guys, like nephews and mob wannabes, because they're Italian and they happen to have a last name, or they grew up with somebody who's a friend or a cousin who has a last name. They all like to think they're in the mob or their mom. They're a freaking joke. They don't know dick about the mob. They don't know dick about the streets. They just got a name and they act, they speak a little bit of Italian in front of everybody. Everybody goes, ooh, they're in the mob. They're a joke. Not all of them. Some of them are good dudes, real dudes. The real ones didn't act like that. The real ones were very quiet. They didn't press. They try to impress nobody with it. They dressed a little different. They played the part because they were the part. The ones who were faking, you could tell. So you get all these guys, right? They come in 6-8 deep, and you can see them at this club, you've seen them at that club, you've seen them, and over the last 2-3 years, you get to know these guys. Oh, that's the Sterling Heights boys, the Italian boys. They're good boys. Not bothering nobody, just backing on some hoes. And then there's one of them, right? And you start to notice he's getting kind of big, man. He's kind of. I remember him a year ago. He was freaking 150 pounds. Now he's 200 pounds. Next thing you know, 9 months go by, and this motherfucker's up. He's 240 pounds, and he's walking around like he's king shit, and he's freaking talking loud, barking, like getting in fights with people, like threatening, like punking guys out. Even his own homeboys, he's like, man, shut the fuck up, I'll beat your ass. They literally do that. They're literally with their own homeboys do. Like, man, but shut the fuck up, man, I'll beat your ass. I mean, that's what they do. I'd watch them, and I'm like, because I was a watcher, I'd sit in the club, I'd drink water or milk. I didn't get drunk in the club because I beat up too many drunks. I know how easy it is for you to get drunk, for a drunk to be beat. And I didn't want to be beat. I didn't want to be humiliated in front of a bunch of people. So I'd mac on hot chicks all night, and I'd be watching, boom, 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 looking at everybody and their behavior, who they are, who they're with, how much are they drinking. calculate every single mother upper in there, man. Every single person. I know exactly who they are, where they're from, how much they've had to drink tonight, how they act, how their disposition is, where they're from. I mean, all of it. And that's, my computer in my mind. I did that with every freaking buddy, every night, every time I was there. Because I was that big of a freaking lunatic. Because I'm like, when it goes down, I'm knocking him out first. I'm knocking him out next. I'm going to freaking grab him. I'm going to do this. Or I say, okay, if it goes down, he'll have my back. He might have my back. He's going to jump on the other bandwagon and try to get me because I beat his ass or slapped his boy around a year ago or blah, blah, blah. So you're calculating all this crap, and it's every night. Dude, there were times where I would get bored. I gotta end this now. Where I would get bored because there were no hot chicks in the club. So I'd be like, in the club. And this is bad behavior. I'm telling you, again, I'm just saying this again. This is all bad behavior. But there were times where I was in the club and I'd be like, hey guys, let's go. Like Mike suggested was like, let's go hit the strip club or let's go to another club. And the guy driving would always be like, oh no, let's hang out. I gotta finish this beer. I'm trying to get with this girl. I'm trying to get this waitress's number over here. And then in my mind, I'm like, she's never gonna give you her number. Never. No, she's not. I know who she's boning. She's boning that guy or that guy. I mean, you ain't got the game. I'm like, come on, bro, let's go. Let's go hit freaking Woodies or Skinnies or somewhere else. There's no girls in here, man. Let's go. Oh, come on, we're just gonna hang out for a few. Okay, I know how to end this. I know how to do this. And my boy, like Ricky, he'd see this coming, and he'd be like, all right, here we go. And I tell Ricky, I said, just get ready to have my back. If it happens, you have my back. And he's like, yeah, of course. And so I'd see one of those guys that are all puffed up. And they're usually with 3, 4, 5 guys. They make them feel confident. It makes them feel confident to have 3, 4 guys in the club and be all puffed up and talking shit and loud, barking, whatever. I know all these motherfuckers are pussies. I know every last one of them are pussies. All of them. I walk through, come through them like, I'm coming through the crowd like a bull. And then I walk right by the dude who's usually animated and talking shit, and he's drinking his beer, and I'm just like, wham! I just freaking, boom, knock his drink right out of his hand, boom. And I'll stop and look at him like, what's up, man? And dude, 99 times out of 100, now I wouldn't say that because I didn't do it that many times. I probably did that 20 times, and out of that 20 times, maybe 5 times, the guy got tough. The other 15 times, I go, what's up, man? And I'm basically saying, what's up, man? You got something to say about that? They know I'm there challenging. He knows I'm like, what's up? You want to fight? And I don't give a shit that you got 5 of your boys standing there. I don't care about none of these guys. You're a freaking bully and a punk. And we're going to find out for real if you're as tough as you're pretending to be. I know you're not. They know you're not. I'm going to prove it. The guys would always go, oh, man, what's up? What's up, Al? My bad, man. No problem, man. And I'm like, oh, sorry, my bad. My bad. I knocked the drink out of here. I said, wait, just, next drink's on me, man. My bad. Sorry about that. Because if he was like, hey, man, I'm sorry, it was my bad, he deflated, he's basically acquiescing. He's admitting, I know you can whoop me. I know you can beat my ass. I don't want to fight you. I'm sorry for acting like an asshole. That's what he's saying. He's saying this is man code. This is gladiator code in the club for him saying, yeah, my bad. I was acting out of line, man. I got the attention of the wrong mother effer. And that mother effer I know will beat my ass. And so he says, my bad. But a couple times, guy, man, and he turns up, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? What the fuck's wrong with you, man? You get your ass beat. And they just say something. I'd hit him. I wouldn't even wait. And I got a sucker puncher. But a mother effer turns and goes, man, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? You got a fucking problem? I'm like, bam, right? Wham! I said, yeah, I got a problem, motherfucker. Go to bed. And boom, and on the floor, sleeping. And I look at the boys like, you got a problem too? You want some? And they're always like, it's all between you and him, man. We got no problem. That's what I thought. Now, peel his ass up. The bouncers would peel him up and throw him out. They'd always throw the other guy out because they're all like, hell, man, why do you do that? You don't have to hit guys like that. Right? I will throw them out, though. You stay here. Let me buy you a drink, Al. Hey, the next drink's on me for Al. It's good. And I got kind of famous for that. And the DJ started calling me, making my song, Thank God It's Friday, Keep the Heads Ringing. And the moral of the story is, nowadays, this is a long video. Nowadays, you got bullies who are on the internet. They want to bully people on the internet. They want to terrorize people on the internet. They want to troll people on the internet. They want to make fun of people. And these are the biggest cowards of them all. I mean, even the ones that make like fake videos with computerized voices, they're so scared to be identified as of the coward they are. They won't use a real name. They won't use a real IP address. They won't use a real voice. These are terrified mother effers, terrified, and they'll say anything, talk shit, trash, whatever on a keyboard, bully people, and I mean they'll say stuff about your girl, your wife. They don't give a shit because why would they? They don't care. They're hidden. They're cowardly hidden behind safely in some basement or in their filthy bed with dirty sheets somewhere. And they think it bothers. Like normal people aren't bothered by that. They're just like, click, delete, gone. Like normal people don't pay attention to that because they know it's just some coward in the middle of nowhere who has no life. But bullies are bullies, man. It's the same general principle. If they feel like they can bully the weak or somebody who can't fight back or doesn't have the means to fight back, they'll do it. It's just it's a character flaw, and it's a sign of weakness. And so. But I will end it with this saying, I do believe that bullies are necessary. And I don't care how long this video is. I'll keep it going. Because, like, I have a godson. It's a long story about my godson. But anyways, he was getting picked on in school. And he told me the guy's always messing with him. I said, the next time this dude messes with you, I want you to beat his ass and don't stop until they pull you off. I mean, don't stop until they pull you off. He says, okay. I'm not kidding. 3 freaking days later, I got a call from his dad. It's like freaking Vitor got suspended. And what did he do? He freaking beat that kid's ass. Beat that kid. Just like I said, the guy hit him and slammed his head off the locker. He turned around and like knocked him out and jumped on top of him and beat this mother effer until 3 teachers pulled him off. I said, now, he told me like a day or two after the fact. And I'm like, no, he told me right away. And then about a month later, I said, so how will people treat you now? Nobody fuck with you, huh? Nah, hell no. Everybody treats me like I'm a rock star. Nobody messes with me. Nobody bothers me. Nobody picks on me. You see how that works? You stand up to bullies, and this is what happened. So I think bullies are good. Bullies are good. I think everybody should have the bullies. You know what I'm saying? I don't like bullies. I think the bullies should get what they deserve, which is punked, beat, humiliated, all that. But I think they play a role in society. I think bullies should be there. We can't have a society without bullies. Do you know how many people are bullies like on the internet, on like Twitter, and like on the left side of the aisle of politics? I mean, they're all bullies, but they can hide. But they also are the ones who are offended by anything that they think someone else is bullying. But I'm just saying, a kid goes to school, he should get bullied once in a while, and then he should stand up to that kid. A girl has to stand up for herself. Guys have to stand up. Whatever it is, if you're getting bullied, stand up for yourself. Fight. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean fighting with your fist. It can mean fighting with your brain, metaphorically, or writing. But when it comes to like internet bullying, the best thing to do is just delete and walk away. Don't engage. Don't waste your time. It's completely a waste of time. And just delete and go move on with your life. These are cowards that are terrified of reality. So forget the cowards. But anyone in real life bullies you, stand up to them. And it's okay if you get your ass whooped. It's okay to lose a fight. It's okay because you went out swinging. Everybody can lose a fight. Everybody loses a fight. Everybody loses. But it's much better for you and your pride and your character to go down swinging and lose a fight to a bully, which you probably won't. But if you did, then to just let him bully you. If you let them bully you, then it's going to kill your ego and your psyche and your character, and it's going to drive you crazy. And you're not going to look in the mirror because you're going to think, I look like a punk in the mirror. I just hate myself. So the next time the bully tries to punk you, right in the mouth. Throw your shoulder behind it. Just wham, hit him in the freaking mouth. Hard as you can, boom. Odds are you're going to knock him out, and that bully's going to freaking take a dive. And when he does, when he wakes up, he's going to look at you. He's never going to bully you again. And anyone who sees that or hears about it will never bully you again. And this can carry on for the rest of your life. Everybody who knows you from your neighborhood, you knock one bully out and watch what happens. The entire remainder of your life when you live in that neighborhood, nobody bothers you because you stood up for yourself. So if you're getting bullied, stand up. That's my message. If you're getting bullied, stand up and fight, knock a mother effer out. But if you're getting bullied on the internet, just ignore it, delete it, and move on. Because it's a waste of time. Don't feed into it. God bless. I'm about to eat. That's a long show. I'm out.